Shavua Tov, everyone. Welcome to Tell Stories for Saturday night. The title of this week's audio is The Glowing Shoes-Salman. I adapted and supplemented it from the rendition deftly written by Rabbi Leibel Genuish, an instructor in Jewish law at various schools in the United States, first published on Chabad.org. In Belarus, White Russia, towards the end of the 19th century, Jewish-run inns dotted the rural areas like poppy seeds on a bagel. Rabbi Shmuel Weinberg didn't frequent inns. He preferred the comfort of his straw bed at home and his wife's cooking. But he was the Slonimer Rebbe, and his people needed him, so from time to time he set out on the road and stayed for a few days at different inns in his area. Rabbi Shmuel Weinberg, the second Rebbe of Shlonim in Europe, was the grandson of Rabbi Avram Weinberg, author of Yisod HaAvodah, the first of the Shlonim dynasty. He was known for his tireless efforts to unite the ultra-Orthodox communities, both Hasidic and Misnagid, in the struggle against the intrusion of modernity into towns and their regions and the various offshoots of traditional Judaism. In 1900, he worked to establish Shiva or Torah in Tiberias, after having twice visited the land of Israel when he was younger. He passed away on the 19th of Shvat in 5676, which is 1916, while he was in Warsaw for medical treatment and was laid to rest there in the Jewish cemetery of Warsaw. On the first night of his stay in this particular inn, Rabbi Shmuel noticed an interesting stranger. He couldn't help but analyze him. He's stately, well-dressed. He has an inner calm that I don't see often. Rabbi Shmuel was even most impressed by the man's glow. He sensed a holiness in the man. He wanted to know the source of the man's aura, yet he didn't feel it appropriate to approach him right away. At night 2 at the inn found the Slonim retired from a long day of activities on behalf of the Jewish community. Weary, he nevertheless opened the tractate of Talmud he had brought with him to study a certain passage in depth before he retired. Why would the defendant be obligated to take an oath in this case and not, etc.? Then he noticed the man was present again. He was sorting through documents in his attaché case, his appearance illuminated by contentment. I must approach him tonight, Rabbi Shmuel decided, but he didn't, because he wanted to finish his committed time for learning, and by the time he was done, the man had gone back into his room. Tomorrow night, he promised himself, that is when he would discover the source of this man's holiness. The third night, the haze in the common room was even thicker than usual, a mixture of cigarette and furnace smoke, and it was difficult to see clearly. But the Rebbe had no trouble finding the man. My dear fellow Yid, wuz machst du? How are you doing, fellow Jew? Rabbi Shmuel asked, approaching the man with slow determination. The man looked up. He was eating soup. I'm doing well, Rabbi. Can I ask you something, Rabbi Shmuel asked. Of course. Who are you? The man wasn't perturbed by the rabbi's forwardness. I'm a simple man. I sell shoes for a living. I'm doing well. Baruch Hashem, thank God. I mean, what do you do spiritually? The Rebbe was concerned with the man's holiness, not his income. How long do you pray? How much Torah do you study? I don't pray. I mean, I try to, but I don't know how to read Hebrew. So I'm able to say the 3 paragraphs of Shema Yisrael by heart every morning and evening, but nothing else. The same goes for learning. The man cast his gaze downward. Of course, the Rebbe didn't judge the man. How could he? Nevertheless, he pursued. I'm sorry to keep asking you questions. I apologize. But can you tell me about your day? I see something in you that I don't usually see. Of course, Rabbi, but I'm afraid that I'm quite ordinary. I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, said the man as he launched into a detailed review of his daily schedule. He was nearing late afternoon, and Rabbi Shmuel was still at a loss. Why did the man glow? The man concluded, and before I go to sleep, after I recite the Shema, I say to God, Master of the world, I ask only one thing from you. If I don't have what it takes to fulfill the mission for which you created me, don't wake me up tomorrow. Wake me up only if you believe I can do everything you need me to do in this world. Wow. The Slonimer Rebbe had his answer, full and clear. I'm sure almost all of us have more knowledge, or at least certainly we're able to read and acquire more knowledge and do more prayers than this simple salesman of shoes. But how many of us can match his purity and dedication to God and the mission that God has for him? Since everybody is created with a mission to accomplish on earth, even if we're not aware of what that mission is. Shavua Tov, have an outstanding week.